Shukrana Guruji for this beautiful, blissful, divine satsang and blessing us with this beautiful seva of listening as well as reading of Shivpuran. Guruji was a man of few words and he never gave sermons. And amongst the very few things that he recommended and he told people was to read Shivpuran, because it not only expiates your karmas, it also opens the doors of salvation. So it is up to us to walk on that path, and if you do so, it'll be great for you. If you want to read in the temple, you can reach Seema Auntie or me or Rashmi Auntie, and we can arrange for a reading for you. Let's begin with the synopsis of last week. Last week we read chapter 33 and 34 of SataRudrasamhita of the volume 3 of the Shivpuran. In chapter 33, we read about Shiva's incarnation as a student ascetic, where his name was Jatila, and he tested the feelings of Parvati for him. So before I tell you the story, there's a backdrop. So Parvati, formerly in a previous lifetime, was born as Sati in Daksha's household, and she was married to Lord Shiva. Now, on account of Daksha's insult of Lord Shiva, Sati was infuriated and she sacrificed her life by cutting off her body parts by the power of yoga. Now, in the next lifetime, she was born as Parvati in Mena and Himavat's household, and due to her merit of karma, she almost attained Lord Shiva as her husband, if not for Kama. And Lord Shiva abandoned her and he burned Kama to ashes. So because she was mentally, emotionally, and verbally, she considered Lord Shiva as her husband, she decided that she's going to perform a severe penance to attain Lord Shiva. So she went to a dense forest and she was accompanied by her two friends, and she decided to perform severe penance. Now, Lord Shiva wanted to test her feelings and her penance, and he asked 7 celestial sages to go to Parvati's grove and dissuade her from performing penance. They couldn't do so, so they told Lord Shiva about it and went back to their abode. But Lord Shiva still wanted to test her penance, so he assumed a form of a very old Brahmin with matted hair, and his name was Jatila, and he went to a place where Parvati was performing penance. When Parvati saw this old Brahmin with matted hair, she welcomed him and worshipped him respectfully. Then the Brahmin asked her why she was there in the dense forest and what she was doing there. So Parvati told him the entire story about how she wanted she considered Lord Shiva and none other god as her husband, and she was performing a penance for it. So Lord Shiva, who was Jatila there, he rebuked himself and used insulting words for Lord Shiva and told Parvati not to do so. Now, hearing those insulting words, Parvati was infuriated and she wanted to kill him. But because he was a Brahmin, she couldn't do so. So she called her friends and told them about it and told them that they must leave this place and expiate the sin of listening to such insulting words for Lord Shiva. As she was leaving, Lord Shiva revealed himself, his true identity, and told her that he was delighted with her feelings and her penance, and she was befitting to be his wife. He told her to come to Kailasha with her. Parvati rejoiced, and she went to Kailasha with him. Now, after Lord Shiva revealed himself in chapter 34, we read that he was delighted and he asked Parvati to request for a boon. Now, Parvati requested him to be her husband, and she requested him to beg her father for her hand in marriage. And Lord Shiva granted her the boon and vanished from there. Parvati was in the dense forest and she went back with her friends to her parents' abode. Mena and Himavat were extremely delighted to have their daughter back, and there was joyous celebration all around. In that celebration, Lord Shiva assumed the form of a dancer and entered the celebration and performed beautiful dances which enchanted Mena and all the other citizens. So Mena was extremely delighted, and she went with a pot full of jewels to this dancer or a mendicant and tried to give that to him. But instead, he asked for her daughter's hand. She was infuriated at that and ordered the attendants to take him away. In the meantime, Himavat came here and he did the same, but none of the attendants were able to take away this dancer. He continued to perform his dances, and then ultimately Shiva revealed his infinite powers. He first assumed the form of Vishnu, then he assumed the form of Brahma, then he assumed the form of Sun, then Shiv Parvati. Then he again requested Himavat and Mena to grant their daughter's hand to him in marriage, but both of them were extremely angry. Then, mentally urged by Parvati, Shiva vanished from there and went back to Kailasha. Just then, wisdom dawned on Himavat and Mena, and they realized that it was none other than Lord Shiva, and they decided that they're going to give their daughter's hand to Lord Shiva. Ultimately, they got their daughter married to Lord Shiva and became his devotees. With that, we come to the end of the synopsis. Today, we will read chapter 35, which is the incarnation of Shiva as saintly Brahmin, and chapter 36, which is Shiva's incarnation as Ashwatthama. Today, Anjana Aunty will be reading these chapters in English. We do not have Hindi reading. Enjoy the readings. Jai Guruji, Shukrana.
Shukrana Guruji for giving me this good opportunity. Thank you so very much. Please forgive me for any errors in advance, please. Chapter 35, the incarnation of Shiva as a saintly Brahmin. Nandisara said, O omniscient Sanat Kumara, listen to the incarnation of Shiva, the Supreme Soul, as Brahmin in the grab of a sand. On realizing the excellent devotion of Mena and Himavat towards Shiva, the gods became worried and they consolated one another eagerly. If the mountain were to give his daughter to Shiva with undiluted devotion, certainly he will attain salvation immediately. He is the respectable of infinite gems. If he attains liberation, the name of the earth, Ratnagarbha, having gems within, will certainly be meaningless. He will cast off the stationary state of mountain and assume a divine form. After giving his daughter in marriage to the Tridian bearing Lord, he will go to Shiva's region. With the blessing of Shiva, he will attain identity in form with the great God. He will enjoy all great pleasure there and then attain liberation. O sage, after discussing like this, the gods went to the abode of their preceptor. In order to achieve their self-interest, they submitted to the preceptor thus. The gods said, O preceptor, please go to the abode of Himavat for the accomplishment of our task. Reproach Lord Shiva and try to prevent the mountain's excessive devotion to him. O preceptor, if the mountain gives his daughter to Shiva with great faith, he will attain salvation. Let him stay on the earth itself. On hearing the words of the gods, he thought over that and spoke to them. The preceptor said, O gods, one of you shall go to the mountain for achieving the end. I am incapable of doing it. Or you all, including Indra, go to Brahma's region. Tell him all your details. He will carry out your work. Nandiswara said. On hearing these words and reflecting thereon, the gods went to Brahma's assembly. They submitted all the details of Brahma. On hearing their words and reflecting deeply, Brahma told them, I shall not censure him, for that will yield misery to us and dispel out happiness forever. O gods, you go to Kailasa and propitiate Shiva. Request that Lord to go to the abode of Himavat. Let him approach the Lord of mountain and censure himself. censoring others is conducive to destruction, and censoring oneself is conducive to glory. Nandiswara said, then the gods hastened to Kailasa and bowed to Shiva with great devotion. They mentioned everything in details to him. On hearing the words of the gods, Lord Shiva accepted their proposal. He laughingly consolated the gods and made them return without worry. Then Lord Shiva, who is favorably disposed towards his devotees, who is the welder of Maya and who is free from aberrations, desired to approach Hemavat. He assumed the form of a Brahmin saint. He held a staff and an umbrella. He wore divine garments. A brilliant casket mark shone on his forehead. He had tied a shilagram stone round his neck and held a string of crystal beads in his hand. He frequently repeated the names of Vishnu with devotion. He approached Hemavat, who was accompanied by his kinsman. On seeing him, Hemavat and his attendants stood up and then prostrated before him. They performed Astanga salvation on the ground. Then the Lord of Mountains asked him, who are you, please? The Brahmin yogin replied immediately with reverence. The saintly Brahmin said, O mountain, I am a devotee of Vishnu known as Sadhuvija. I possess true vision, I am omniscient, and I assist others. By the power of the prospector, I can go everywhere. O excellent mountain, by my divine knowledge, I have known something while I was in my abode. Listen, I shall mention the same with pleasure to you without any arguments. You wish to give your daughter, who is as comely as Lakshmi, to Shiva, whose family and conduct are unknown. O Lord of Mountains, this idea of yours is not conducive to auspiciousness. O most excellent one among the wise, born of Vishnu's race, you should know this. O Lord of Mountains, see for yourself, he has no single relative. You can verify your relatives and your beloved. Ask Mena and others excluding Parvati. O mountain, the patient never likes he medicine, but releases under undesirable diet. In the matter of gifting away Parvati, he is not the divorcing person. As soon as this alliance is announced, the public will smile diversely. He is without support, he is unattached, he is ugly, devoid of attributes, and unchanging. He is hideous, he resides in the cremation ground, he is naked and handless serpents. He smears ashes as decoration, serpents twice round his head. He has fallen from all stages of life. His ways are ever unknown. Brahma said, after saying these factual statements insulting to Shiva, Shiva of diverse sports quickly returned to his abode. On hearing the words of the Brahmin, they thought thus, what can we do with regards to him who is engrossed in adverse things? The Shiva performed great sport, delighting the devotees. He married Parvati and carried out the task of the god. O dear, thus the incarnation of Lord Shiva as Sadhuvija that carried out the task of the gods has been narrated to you. He who reads or listens to this pious narrative conducive to heaven and loving longevity becomes happy and attains salvation. Chapter 36, Shiva's incarnation as Ashatthama. Nandishvara said, O omniscient Sanat Kumara, listen to the incarnation of Lord Shiva, the great soul Ashatthama. O sage, though a part of the celestial sage of great intellect Brihaspati, the self-possessed and prudent Drona was born of Bharadwaja, but not of any Om. He was the foremost among the urchas, heroes of Brahminical sage, well versed in all lore of great fame and brilliance, and the most excellent of all the wielders of weapons and missiles. Learned men knew Drona as the most excellent, skillful in the lore of archery, as well as the Vedas, of variegated activities, and as one who made his rage flourish. O Brahmin, thanks to his strength, he was the instructor of the Kauravas. He was the most well known among the six Mara- Mahara- Marathas among the Kauravas. The most excellent Brahmin, Drona performed an elaborate penance with Shiva in view for obtaining a son in order to help the Kauravas. O excellent sage, then the delight Lord Shiva, favorably disposed to his devotees, appeared in front of Drona. On seeing him, the Brahmin Drona, whose heart was highly delighted, bowed to him with palms, joined in reverence, and eulogized him, satisfied and pleased with his eulogy and penance for Lord Shiva. Favorably disposed towards his devotees, told Drona, mention the boon you wish to choose. On hearing the words of Shiva, Drona bowed low and said, please give me a son born of your part who will be invisible to everyone and who will be very powerful. On hearing the words of Drona, Shiva said, so be it, O dear sage, the Lord who bestows happiness, then vanished. Drona returned to his abode highly delighted and free from illusion. He joyously narrated all the details to his wife. Talking to the due opportunity, Lord Shiva, the annihilator of all and very powerful, was born as Drona's son through a part of himself. O sage, he became well known as Ashtatwama on the earth. He was heroic, had lotus-like eyes, and he could reduce the strength of his enemy. Securing the permission and behest of his father, that famous hero helped the Kauravas in the Mahabharata war. By restoring to that powerful hero, Bhishma and other Kauravas became invisible even to the gods. Fearing him, the Pandavas, though they were great heroes and very skillful, became incapable of conquering the Kauravas. At the instance of Krishna, Arjuna performed the severe penance of Shiva and obtained a divine missile due to Shiva's boon. He then conquered the Kauravas. O sage, although the great hero Ashwatthama was born of a part of Lord Shiva, still due to his devotion to the Kauravas, he exhibited his full vigor. He destroyed the sons of Pandavas, though they were trained in warfare by Krishna and other great heroes. He had the strength that could not be withstood by the enemy. On seeing Arjuna, dejected by the death of his son, but rushing on him along with Krishna, he failed away from the battlefield. He discharged the divine missile Brahmashiras on Arjuna. Then a fierce splendor enveloping all the quarters manifested itself. Sensing danger to his own life, Arjuna was much distressed. Losing all his brilliance and highly frightened, he spoke to Krishna, become utterly exhausted. Arjuna said, O Krishna, what is this? Whence it has arisen, I do not know. This unbearably fiery splendors come from all sides. Nandiswara said, on hearing the words of Arjuna, Krishna, the most excellent among the devotees of Shiva, meditated on Shiva and Parvati and then spoke to Arjuna. Krishna said, known this to be the most powerful Brahma missile of Ashwatthama, there is no other missile to counteract this. Immediately think of Shiva, your Lord, the protector of the devotees, who had given you never goes never goes futile and cannot be counteracted, it subsided before the splendor of the Shiva missile. Do not consider this very surprising in Shiva, who is full wondrous things and who the unborn creates, protects, and annihilates the entire universe by his own power. O sage, knowing that this happened by the influence of Shiva, Ashwatthama, born of Shiva's part, and delighted in her at Shiva's wish, was not at all sorry. Then the son of Drona, wishing the world to be rid of Pandava, lions desired to kill the child in the home of Uttara. The powerful Ashwatthama hurled the excessively lustrous Brahma missile that could not be countermanded by any other missile, aiming it at home of Uttara. Then Uttara, the daughter-in-law of Arjuna, burning within due to that missile and agitated in the mind, eulogized Krishna, the Lord of Lakshmi. Then meditating of Shiva mentally, bowing to and eulogized him, Krishna understood that to be the missile of the son of Drona. By means of his missile, the brilliant Sandarshana bestowed it on him by Shiva for his protection. He saved her at the behest of Shiva. Ashwatthama then knew that Krishna had assumed his form at the behest of Shiva and did it as he was foremost among the devotees of Shiva, slowly refrained from the thought of destroying Uttara. Then the leading devotee of Shiva, the delighted Krishna, made all the Pandavas fall at the feet of Ashwatthama for pleasing him. Then Ashwatthama, son of Drona, highly delighted in the mind, blessed the Pandavas and Krishna with various boons. O excellent sage, increasing thus on the earth in the front of Drona's son, Lord Shiva performed various sport. The incarnation of Shiva, Ashwatthama, of great strength and exploit, is even now alive on the bank of the river Ganga, bestowing happiness on the three worlds. The incarnation in the form of Ashwatthama of Lord Shiva has been explained to you. It is the cause of all siddhis, and it fulfills all desire of devotees. He who listens to this with devotion and narrates it with pure mind attains all siddhis here and attains Shiva's abode hereafter. This concludes chapter 35 and 36. Jai Guruji. Shukrana Guruji.